everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're tackling something super important for a fulfilling life, mental well-being,
Yes.
and to guide us, we've got this transcript, the wellness chat,
Interesting.
which dives into not just the absence of mental illness, but like actually thriving,
Right.
feeling good, functioning well, having the resilience to handle whatever curveballs life throws our way.
It's interesting how the wellness chat tackles this right away.
Yeah.
The fact that we often tiptoe around this topic.
Right.
But, that reluctance to talk about mental well-being is exactly why it's so important to dive in head first.
Absolutely. The less we talk about it, the bigger and scarier it seems.
For sure.
Okay, so let's unpack what mental well-being actually means. The wellness chat emphasizes that it's not just one thing, but a whole bunch of factors working together.
It is, yeah. Feeling good is a big part of it, of course.
Yeah.
Functioning well.
Yeah.
Being able to handle our daily responsibilities, pursue our goals.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But then there's resilience. And that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Remember that Olympic swimmer, Michael Phelps?
Oh, yeah.
He's incredibly open about his struggles with anxiety and depression.
It's a good point.
It's a powerful reminder that even those who seem to have it all can face mental health challenges.
Right.
And his story also highlights the power of resilience, his ability to keep going, to keep striving for excellence, despite those internal battles, is truly inspiring.
That's a great example. I think sometimes we forget that resilience isn't about never struggling.
Right.
It's about how we navigate those rough patches. So how do we build up that mental resilience? Is it something we're born with, or can we actually cultivate it?
That's good news. The wellness chat suggests that we can absolutely build mental fitness.
Oh,
It's like physical fitness. You don't just wake up one day being able to run a marathon.
right.
It takes consistent effort, dedication, and the right strategies.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's not a magic pill.
No.
It's an ongoing process. Which brings us to those pesky myths
Oh.
that surround mental health. The wellness chat does some serious myth busting, and I have to say, it's refreshing.
It is, yeah. Some of these myths are so ingrained
Yeah.
in our culture, it's almost shocking.
Yeah?
Like the idea the mental health challenges only happen to weak people. It's just not true.
No.
And it perpetuates this harmful stigma
Right.
that prevents people from seeking help.
Totally. And then there's the myth that talking about your mental health makes you seem unprofessional or unreliable.
Right, like it's some kind of weakness you need to hide. In reality, opening up about your struggles can be incredibly empowering.
Yeah.
It takes courage to be vulnerable, and it can help break down those walls
Yeah.
of stigma,
Uh-huh.
making it easier for others to do the same.
I've even heard people say that therapy is only for serious cases, as if there's some kind of threshold you have to cross before it's legitimate to seek help.
Right. It's almost like saying you have to wait until your leg is completely broken before seeing a doctor.
Right.
Therapy can be beneficial for anyone, whether they're facing major life challenges or simply want to improve their self-awareness and emotional well-being. And it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Okay.
There are so many different types of therapy, each with its own unique focus and techniques.
Wow.
For example, cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT,
Mm.
is often used to address negative thought patterns,
Okay.
while mindfulness-based therapies focus on developing present moment awareness.
I didn't realize there were so many options. Speaking of mindfulness, the wellness chat highlights it as a key tool for improving mental well-being.
For sure.
And I have to admit, I've been a bit skeptical of the whole mindfulness thing. It all sounded a little too woo-woo for me. But I recently started trying a guided meditation app.
Right.
And I have to say, I'm surprised by how much I'm enjoying it.
That's great.
It's only been a few weeks, but I already feel calmer and more centered.
Mindfulness isn't about becoming some kind of Zen master. It's about cultivating awareness of your thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations without judgment. It's about learning to be present in the moment rather than constantly dwelling on the past or worrying about the future.
Right.
And the great thing about mindfulness is that it's accessible to everyone. You don't need any special equipment or expertise. Even just taking a few minutes each day to focus on your breath can have a profound impact.
I'm definitely finding that to be true. Okay, so we've busted some myths. and dipped our toes into the world of mindfulness. What are some other practical strategies the Wellness Chat suggests for boosting our mental well-being?
Well, they emphasize the importance of journaling, which can be a really powerful tool for processing your thoughts and emotions. It's like having a conversation with yourself on paper, helping you gain clarity and identify patterns in your thinking and behavior. And what is fascinating is that the simple act of writing things down can actually help regulate your emotions. Studies have shown that expressive writing, where you write freely about your feelings, can reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression.
That's interesting. I've dabbled in journaling before, but I never really thought about the science behind it. It makes so much sense, though, getting those thoughts out of my head and onto paper. It does feel incredibly liberating.
Exactly. And it also ties back to self-awareness, which is another key theme in the Wellness Chat. The more we understand ourselves, the better equipped we are to manage our emotions and navigate life's challenges.
Okay, so mindfulness journaling, self-awareness, all fantastic tools. The Wellness Chat also talks about the importance of physical activity, which is something I'm always preaching, but it's not just. About the physical benefits, right?
Absolutely. Exercise releases endorphins, which have mood-boosting effects. And it's not just about intense workouts. Even a brisk walk or some gentle stretching can make a difference. Plus, when we're engaged in physical activity, we're often more present in our bodies, which can be a form of mindfulness in itself.
Right. I love that connection between physical activity and mindfulness. It's like a 2-for-1 deal. But let's be honest, sometimes it's hard to find the motivation to exercise, especially when we're feeling stressed or down. Any tips for overcoming that hurdle?
Well, the Wellness Chat suggests finding activities you genuinely enjoy.
Okay.
If you hate running, don't force yourself to do it.
Right.
Explore different options. Dancing, swimming, hiking, yoga. There are so many possibilities. And don't underestimate the power of social support. Finding a workout buddy or joining a group fitness class can make exercise more fun and help you stay accountable.
That's great advice. I'm definitely more likely to lace up my sneakers if I know a friend's waiting for me.
For sure.
Okay, so we've covered mindfulness journaling, physical activity. What else does the Wellness Chat suggest for creating a solid foundation for mental well-being?
They talk about the importance of a balanced routine.
Okay.
Making sure you're getting enough sleep, eating nutritious foods, and staying hydrated. These basic needs often get neglected when we're busy or stressed, but they're crucial for both physical and mental health.
Right.
And what's interesting is how they link sleep deprivation to increased anxiety and irritability. It makes sense when you think about it. When we're exhausted, our emotional reserves are depleted, making us more susceptible to negative thoughts and feelings.
You know, it's funny how we often know these things, but don't always prioritize them. I'm definitely guilty of sacrificing sleep when I have a lot on my plate, but I know how cranky and unproductive I am when I'm running on fumes. Maybe I need to rethink my bedtime routine.
I think we all could benefit from a little more self-care in that department. And speaking of self-care, the Wellness Chat also highlights the importance of social connections. Feeling connected to others, having a sense of belonging is crucial for our well-being.
I couldn't agree more. I'm a total extrovert. So spending time with loved ones is like recharging my batteries. And it's not just about quantity, it's about quality.
Right.
Having a few close friends or family members you can truly be yourself with. Those who listen without judgment and offer support when you need it, that's priceless.
Absolutely. And even for those who are more introverted, nurturing meaningful connections is essential. It might look different. Maybe it's joining a book club, volunteering in your community, or simply having regular phone calls with a close friend.
I love that. It's about finding those connections that feel authentic and nourishing, whatever form they may take.
For sure.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Mindfulness journaling, physical activity, balanced routines, social connections. It's like a whole toolkit for mental well-being.
It is,
But what happens when those tools aren't enough?
That's a good question.
The Wellness Chat also touches on the importance of seeking professional help when needed, right?
Absolutely. There's a common misconception that therapy is only for people who are experiencing severe mental health challenges.
Right.
But the truth is, therapy can be beneficial for anyone who wants to gain a deeper understanding of themselves, work through difficult emotions, or develop healthier coping mechanisms. It's like having a coach for your mental health.
Yeah.
Someone who can provide guidance,
Yeah.
support, and evidence-based strategies for navigating life's ups and downs.
That's such a great analogy. And it reminds us that there's no shame in seeking professional help. It's a sign of strength and self-awareness, just like seeking help for a physical injury.
Exactly. And there are so many different types of mental health professionals out there.
Right.
Therapists, counselors, psychiatrists. So it's important to find someone who feels like a good fit for you.
Yeah.
And with technology these days, there are even online therapy options available, which can be incredibly convenient and accessible.
I think that's a great segue into a topic that's really piqued my curiosity, the role of technology in all of this. On the one hand, technology can be incredibly helpful, connecting us to resources, providing support networks, even offering therapeutic interventions through apps. But on the other hand, it can also be a source of stress, overwhelm, and comparison. I mean, how many times have we scrolled through social media and ended up feeling worse about ourselves?
That's such an important point, and it's something we need to explore further.
Absolutely.
The Wellness Chat talks about the importance of creating supportive environments for mental well-being. And I think that includes being mindful of how technology impacts our mental health.
Absolutely. Okay, well, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive. We've unpacked the meaning of mental well-being, busted some myths, and explored a whole range of practical tools and resources. But I think that question about technology's role is something we need to unpack in more detail.
I agree, it's a complex issue with both positive and negative implications for our mental health. And it's something that impacts all of us in this digital age. Welcome back to the deep dive. It's fascinating to think about how intertwined technology and mental well-being are.
It really is. We touched on it before the break, but I think it deserves its own deep dive. We're constantly bombarded with information notifications and this never-ending stream of perfectly curated lives on social media. It's no wonder so many people feel overwhelmed and anxious.
It's true. The Wellness Chat talks about the importance of supportive environments and in this digital age. That means being aware of how technology shapes those environments. We're all carrying around these little dopamine factories in our pockets.
Totally.
And let's be honest, they're designed to keep us hooked.
It's like every notification is a tiny little slot machine, and we keep pulling the lever, hoping for a hit of validation or excitement. But as you mentioned, the Wellness Chat emphasizes the importance of creating a supportive environment. And sometimes that means setting boundaries with technology.
Exactly. Think about it this way. If you were constantly surrounded by people who were critical negative or made you feel inadequate, you'd probably want to limit your exposure to them, right?
Yeah.
Well, same principle applies to the digital world. If you find yourself constantly comparing yourself to others on social media, feeling drained by the endless stream of information, or neglecting real-life connections in favor of screen time, it might be time to reassess your relationship.
This technology.
You know, I've actually started doing that.
Oh, that's great.
I turned off notifications for most of my social media apps. And it's amazing how much calmer I feel. I used to feel like I had to respond to every message or comment immediately. But now I can choose when and how I engage.
That's fantastic. It's all about taking back control. And that's something the Wellness Chat highlights, taking an active role in shaping our environment to support our mental well-being.
It's like we have to be the architects of our own digital spaces.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential downsides of technology, but it's not all doom and gloom, right?
No, it's not.
There are also ways we can leverage technology to enhance our mental well-being.
Absolutely. Technology can be an incredibly powerful tool for self-care and personal growth. Think about all the resources available at our fingertips, meditation apps, online therapy platforms, communities for mental health support, even just articles and podcasts like this one. And then there were the amazing apps that help us track our moods, practice gratitude, and develop healthy habits.
There's even an app I use that reminds me to take breaks and do some stretching throughout the day. It's so easy to get caught up in work and forget to take care of ourselves.
It really is. And that's where technology can be such a valuable ally. It can help us stay connected, informed, and supported in ways that were unimaginable just a few decades ago.
That's true.
And what's really interesting is how some apps are using artificial intelligence
Oh, wow.
to personalize mental health support.
That's fascinating. How does that work?
Well, some apps use algorithms to analyze your mood patterns, sleep habits, and even your language use to identify potential triggers and suggest personalized coping strategies. It's like having a virtual therapist in your pocket.
Wow.
Of course, it's important to remember that technology is just a tool.
Right.
It can't replace human connection
Right.
or professional help when needed. But it can certainly enhance our efforts to prioritize our mental well-being.
It's all about using technology mindfully and intentionally, rather than letting it control us.
Right.
Speaking of control, the wellness chat also delves into the role of society in fostering better mental well-being. It's not just
about individual efforts.
Exactly. It's about creating a culture that values mental health, provides resources and support, and breaks down stigma.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that mental well-being is a collective responsibility.
And that can manifest in so many ways, right?
From workplaces offering mental health days and flexible work arrangements, to schools implementing mindfulness programs and providing access to counselors.
Absolutely. And it also involves challenging discriminatory practices and systemic barriers that disproportionately impact certain groups.
Right.
For example, access to affordable mental health care is a major issue.
Yeah.
And the wellness chat emphasizes the need for policies that prioritize equitable access for all.
That makes so much sense. Mental well-being shouldn't be a luxury.
No.
It's a fundamental human right. And it's interesting how the wellness chat highlights the role of community initiatives in promoting mental well-being.
Yes, things like community gardens, support groups, and arts and culture programs can foster a sense of belonging, purpose, and connection, which are also crucial for mental well-being. And there's growing evidence that spending time in nature has therapeutic benefits.
I completely agree. Even a short walk in the park can do wonders. For my mood, it's like nature has this calming effect. On my nervous system.
There's actually a fascinating field of research called ecotherapy that explores the healing power of nature.
Wow, I had no idea. There was a whole field of study dedicated to that. I guess it's not just a feeling. There's real science behind it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it highlights the interconnectedness of our well-being, how our physical, mental, and social environments all play a role.
Right.
And speaking of interconnectedness, this conversation makes me think about another fascinating aspect of mental well-being, the power of purpose.
Oh, I love that. Purpose is something I've been thinking a lot about lately. It's like having that sense of direction, that feeling that your life has meaning and value.
Exactly. And the wellness chat touches on this idea of purpose as a key ingredient for thriving. They suggest that having a sense of purpose, whether it's through our work, our relationships, or our contributions to the world, can give us a sense of direction and motivation.
It's like having that internal compass that guides us through life's ups and downs. And it doesn't have to be something grand or world-changing. It can be as simple as being a loving parent, volunteering in your community, or pursuing a creative passion.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is that research has shown that people who have a strong sense of purpose tend to be more resilient in the face of challenges.
Does that make sense?
They have that inner strength
Yeah.
and motivation to keep going, even when things get tough.
When you feel like your life has meaning, you're more likely to bounce back from setbacks and keep striving towards your goals.
Exactly. And finding your purpose isn't always easy.
Right.
It can be a process of exploration and discovery. But the wellness chat encourages us to reflect on our values, our passions, and what brings us joy. What makes you feel alive and engaged? Right. What are you naturally drawn to? Those are great starting points for uncovering your purpose.
It's like a treasure hunt within ourselves.
It is.
And it's a journey that can unfold.
Yeah.
Throughout our lives, our purpose might evolve and change as we grow and learn.
That's a great point. It's not a static destination. It's a dynamic process.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this second part of our deep dive.
We have.
We've explored the complex relationship between technology and mental well-being, delved into society's role in creating supportive environments, and even touched on the power of purpose.
It's amazing how all these pieces fit together.
It really is.
It's like a tapestry of individual choices, social structures, and cultural values, all influencing our mental well-being.
And it highlights the importance of taking a holistic approach to mental health, It's not just about what we do as individuals, it's about the systems and environments we create. But I think it's time to shift our focus back to the individual. We've gathered all this knowledge and insight, but how do we actually apply it to our own lives?
That's a great question. And I think it's a perfect segue into our final part of this deep dive. We've talked about the big picture, but now it's time to bring it all home.
Okay.
And explore what it means to prioritize mental well-being on a personal level.
I love that. Let's dive into the practical strategies and mindset shifts. That can help us create a life that feels good, fulfilling, and resilient.
Absolutely. It's time to empower ourselves, to become the best versions of ourselves, mentally and emotionally.
I can't wait. We'll be back in part 3 to explore all of that and more. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've explored so much about mental well-being, from busting myths to understanding society's role. But now, let's bring it all home. What does this mean for you, the listener, in your everyday life?
That's the key question, isn't it? It's easy to get lost in the concepts.
Right.
But ultimately, it's about action.
Yeah.
It's about what we do with this knowledge, how we turn it into tangible changes that improve our lives.
Exactly. The Wellness Chat gave us this fantastic toolkit.
It did.
But like any toolkit, it's only useful if we actually pick up those tools and use them.
Right.
So let's talk about what that looks like in practice.
Well, I think the first step is recognizing that prioritizing mental well-being is an ongoing process, not a one-time fix. It's like tending a garden. You have to nurture it consistently to see it flourish.
That's such a great analogy. There are no quick fixes or magic solutions.
No.
It's about making conscious choices each day that support our mental health.
Absolutely. And the Wellness Chat emphasizes the importance of personalization. What works for one person might not work for another.
Right.
So it's about experimenting with those tools. We've talked about mindfulness journaling, physical activity, social connections, and finding what resonates with you, what fits into your life and brings you a sense of peace and joy.
It's like creating your own personalized mental well-being recipe.
Exactly.
And just like any recipe, it might take some tweaking and adjusting to get it just right.
It might.
And it's important to remember that progress isn't always linear.
Right.
There will be days when you feel great and days when you struggle. There will be setbacks and challenges along the way.
Of course.
It's like that saying, life is a journey, not a destination. And that applies to mental well-being too.
It certainly does. And the Wellness Chat reminds us to approach ourselves with compassion and understanding, especially during those challenging times. We wouldn't berate a friend for having a bad day. So why do we do it to ourselves?
That's so true. We need to cultivate that inner cheerleader, that voice of kindness and support. And sometimes that means reaching out for help, acknowledging that we don't have to go it alone.
Absolutely. Whether it's confiding in a trusted friend or family member, joining a support group, or seeking professional guidance from a therapist. Asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness.
And there are so many resources available these days, both online and offline.
There are.
The Wellness Chat even mentions the growing field of teletherapy, which makes mental health services more accessible than ever before. It's like having a therapist at your fingertips.
It is.
But beyond those formal support systems, I think it's important to cultivate a sense of community in our everyday lives.
I love that.
It's about creating those spaces where we feel safe, connected. And it's important, whether it's joining a book club, volunteering at a local charity, or simply making an effort to connect with our neighbors. Those small acts of kindness and connection can ripple outward and create a more supportive and compassionate world.
It's like weaving a tapestry of human connection, thread by thread.
I like that.
And those connections be incredibly powerful, especially when we're facing challenges.
You know, it's interesting how the Wellness Chat circles back to this idea of resilience. Throughout the transcript, they talk about resilience as a key aspect of mental well-being. But they also highlight the factors that contribute to resilience, like strong social connections, a sense of purpose and healthy coping mechanism. It's like resilience is both the destination and the journey. It's what we're striving for. But it's also something we cultivate through our daily choices and actions.
That is.
And it's not about being invincible or immune to challenges. It's about having the inner strength and resources to navigate those challenges, to bounce back from setbacks, and to keep growing and evolving.
Exactly. And that's a message I hope our listeners take away from this deep dive. Mental well-being is an ongoing journey, a process of continuous learning, growth and self-discovery. It's about embracing our imperfections, celebrating our strengths, and nurturing our minds and bodies with compassion and care.
Beautifully said. And it's a journey we don't have to take alone.
That's right.
There are resources available, people who care, and a whole community ready to support us.
And remember, even small steps can make a big difference. Start with one thing. Maybe it's incorporating a few minutes of mindfulness into your day, reaching out to a friend you haven't spoken to in a while, or simply acknowledging your feelings without judgment. Every step you take towards prioritizing your mental well-being is a step towards a happier, healthier, and more fulfilling life.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into mental well-being.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you found it insightful and empowering.
Take care of yourselves. And remember, you are not alone.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.